What's going on, Rotation family? It's your boy Vic Nasty. Unfortunately, my partner in crime, Tap Out Beast, couldn't be here right now because he is off socially distancing and celebrating the holiday with his family. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there in Rotation Land. This is a home edition of What's on Your Plate. It's just going to be me and Khaleesi tonight, but still doesn't change the fact that the missus expects to have a phenomenal Thanksgiving dinner, whether we can be with our loved ones or be away from them. So tonight we're going to be doing just a quick little 1, 2, 3 of a quick Thanksgiving dinner. It doesn't make sense to make a whole turkey, only because we're going to be together and it's just going to be me and her, and we don't really like the leftover thing beyond a couple of days. So today we're going to be doing a roast turkey breast. We're going to be doing homemade stuffing. I am going to cheat. I didn't make my own 3-day-old bread stuffing. I did pick up a package of just the stuffing mix, but it's not going to be the stovetop. We are going to be doing it with what you would normally do, a homemade stuffing. We're also going to be doing some cream spinach, which is one of her personal favorites, and we are also going to be doing some roasted carrots and her favorite stovetop mac and cheese. And not that box stuff. I'm going to teach you today how to make that box stuff, but from scratch for your loved ones. They'll never want the Kraft mac and cheese stuff again. So thank you for coming out for another episode of That's on What's on Your Plate. Thanks for coming out for another episode of What's on Your Plate. And let's go ahead and get the thing started. Again, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Rotation TV loves you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and start your oven up at 450 degrees. We're not going to be cooking at 450 degrees, but we want to go ahead and get this started in a rip-roaring hot oven. So get that oven started to 450 degrees. All right, so here we have our turkey breast. It's been brining for about 4 hours. You can go up to 12 hours depending on how salty your brine is. Some people suggest 24, but with a smaller cut of poultry, I always feel the smaller the poultry, the better it is to go ahead and go less on the time. And plus, you know, with turkey breast, they tend to be pre-brined, or they put a solution in them which is meant to keep them juicy. But again, you know, it never hurts to get some flavor into your meat. So we're going to go ahead and drain this out, and we're going to go ahead and sit it on a rack and let it kind of drip dry until we wash it off and pat it dry. All right, guys, so here we've done a bed of celery and carrots. You can buy those pre-packaged smaller ones that they sell at Publix, the ones that aren't the whole celery stalk, or you can do the whole thing. But the whole goal is to kind of have everything and create a nice bed to put our turkey breast on top of. I'm going to sprinkle that with a little salt and a little pepper. There's a little bit of olive oil in there to help the roasting of these vegetables, but again, we're giving the turkey breast a nice bed for it to die again on. So stay tuned, and we're going to go ahead and pop this thing inside of the oven. All right, guys, here we have some melted butter. Still a little bit hard. You don't want it super soft, because what we're going to do is we've got some herbs in here. Normally you could use rosemary, you could use thyme, you could use sage. I've got oregano and basil and paprika. Unfortunately, with the back and everything else that's been going on, I haven't been able to get the all the ingredients that I needed for tonight, but oregano and basil will work fine for this. What you're going to do is you're going to let it kind of be where this is moldable by hand. As you can see, it's still kind of pliable. You're going to mix that all up, because that's going to get married inside of the turkey, and I'll show you how that all works in a second. But here we just got our little herb compound butter. You can prep that the night before. You can kind of soften everything up, get it going, and then get it cold. But when it's this kind of room temperature, as you can see, it's a little pliable, so you can actually massage it into your bird. Alright, guys, so here we could cook this turkey breast whole, just the way it is, just like this. You would sit it up, pop it in the oven, kind of let it do its thing. But on Rotation, I like to do things a little differently, and I like to make things as easy as possible for you guys. So here's the underside of our breast. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a trick which would be normally called spatchcocking. What spatchcocking is when you would split your turkey halfway down the middle, or split your chicken halfway down the middle, and then you kind of butterfly it. So I'm going to butterfly this breast so that this way we can kind of cook more evenly and get it cooked a little quicker. So here I have what are called poultry shears. Poultry shears are great because it allows you to cut through that breastbone. It allows you to cut through all that cartilage. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, get in, and I'm going to cut. flipper, push down, and now, as you can see, we've got a nice butterflied turkey breast. Next pro tip, remember that butter we were talking about earlier? I want you to peel back that skin. You're going to peel back that skin. You're going to get underneath and get all in there. If you need to, and I'll turn this, if you need to take a knife and kind of cut away some of that fat to be able to get in there and make this a little easier. That does not ruin things. You just want to pocket there. Pocket, and pocket. As you can see, I kept this fat here because we've got nice open pockets that we can use. So we're going to take that butter that you saw earlier and we're going to fill this area with that. But as you can see, we've got that compound butter. I put this inside the freezer for a second just to make it a little firm. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab you some of that butter. You're just going to kind of that in your hand. That'll soften it back up. All right. And you're going to get that underneath your bird. You can kind of flatten out there, because the whole idea of this is that this will, underneath that roasted skin, melt and just season up your bird. Got us a handful of that compound butter. We're just going to go ahead and kind of massage that in there. Just massage that in there. Drop some more of this butter here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the other side of that. And just massage that in. Just massage that bad boy in. Be careful of any bones if you spatchcock, just because there will be some exposed bones, and you know, I'd hate for you to hurt yourself. Rotation can't pay for your holiday hospital visits, and I do believe they charge a premium on holidays. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our butterfly turkey breast, and we're going to lay her on that bed of celery and carrots that we created. Remember, that's celery and carrots that are inside of a little bit of olive oil there, and the whole purpose for that is solely because as those cook off, it's just going to help to kind of maintain juices and everything else. And we're going to take the last of our herb paprika butter. There's a little paprika in there. I don't know if I gave you guys that tidbit of information. You can see that little butter that's in there wants to go ahead and start working its way out of here. Actually, I'm going to take you, I'm going to steal you and stick you on that side there since you didn't know your place. And here, and now we've got our turkey breast nice and rubbed. All right, so we've got our herb buttered turkey here. Pro tip of the day, you're going to sprinkle the outside with salt and pepper. If you've got this in your kitchen, or you've only got, let's go ahead and cover that up, that in your kitchen, well, you should always have this in your kitchen, and you should always have something like that in your kitchen. Nice and liberal. Now, I mentioned you were going to do some roasted carrots, and the way that I'm going to do those is I'm actually going to go ahead and just cook those with my bird. Go ahead and pop those right alongside there. Get those around the crevices of what you got going on. Smarter cooking. Let the oven do the work for you. Last thing we're going to do with this is we are going to take a drizzle of some robust EVOO. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the label. And you're just going to lightly drizzle that over everything. Be afraid to get a little bit on there. It's totally okay. You can get those on your carrots. Oh, and we gotta salt our carrots. Get a little salt on that. A little bit of salt on that. And our last step before we pop this baby in the oven. Now remember, my oven's at 450. I'm not going to cook at 450, but I want that oven hot, so as soon as it gets in there, it starts the roasting process. I'm going to cook this at about 350. It's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes per pound. This is a 5-pound turkey. So we're looking at roughly about an hour and a half on the roast, but we're going to check her at about an hour. Now, pro tip, and Vic is asleep at the wheel because he forgot to pick one up, and every Thanksgiving he means to pick one up, but he never does. Get yourself a probe thermometer. The beauty of that is that you can set it to the temperature you want, and it'll beep when it's done. If you get your probe thermometer, and I've got my regular old school thermometer right here, which I will be using to check temperature at about an hour, you're going to insert her kind of at a 90-degree angle, and you want to get into the thickest part of the breast, so that's going to be right around in here or in here. But the beauty of those is that they attach right to the outside of your oven. You set a temperature, it notifies you. Now most people tell you 165. That's the correct internal temperature. 160 to 165 is what you want for poultry. But what I'm going to do is because meat cooks with residual heat, is we're going to pop this baby out at about 155 degrees, so about an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes in. We'll test the temperature, and then we'll temp it. And the internal heat will still continue to rise to get her to a nice 165. As long as you get to 165, you're okay with your bird. Somebody's reaching out. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Let's go ahead and pop this baby in the oven, and we'll be back. Collective, Sharonda, Collective. This is our breast for the year. I ended up spatchcocking her, broke the backbone so that this way we can roast her evenly. And you guys will see her in about hour and a half, 2 hours. All right, so we've been going for about 55 minutes now. Turkey's been in the oven for a little bit here. Alright, so here we've got our mise en place. Turkey's just about done. We got some garlic, got some onion, we got some celery and some carrots and some shallots. We're going to use about half the onions, the shallots, and the garlic for our cream spinach. This is going, the other half of onion will go inside of our stuffing with our celery and carrots, and I'll go ahead and kind of walk you guys through that in a moment here. But mise en place is French for everything in its place, and if you're cooking, it's always best to kind of have everything chopped and ready to go, so all you have to do is assemble. Alright, so we started with a cast iron skillet, and we're going to go ahead and melt some butter. Yes, I know, whole stick of butter, super not healthy, but you know, my cream spinach is kind of legendary and there's reasons for it. So you can go ahead and just kind of get your pan coated here. And once that's melted down, we're going to go ahead and take half of our onions and we're going to go ahead and kind of pop that in there. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and get those onions about 5 minutes in. We're going to go ahead, then we'll go put our garlic, and then to finish off we'll go ahead and put our shallots, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to do with our cream spinach. Also got a pot of water boiling for our spinach. We're going to boil our spinach for about a minute. Once we've got it up, we just want it to wilt a little bit. Once it's got that wilted look, we're going to take that out, we're going to strain it off, put that through our strainer. If you don't have fresh spinach like I do, you can use frozen spinach. Again, all you want to do is kind of cook it, strain it, get all the water out. You're going to incorporate it at the end once we've done our mix. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So here we've got our garlic, we've got our onions, and we've got our shallots. They've all been kind of marrying in that butter. Now, most cream spinach recipes will call for flour at this time. Pro tip: I don't use flour. I do use flour when I'm making a roux, but we're not really making a roux here. So I don't have to cook off that flour, so I'm going to go with cornstarch by Argo. Here I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons worth. And once we get that cornstarch in, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get that moving. Going to get that moving, and we're going to go ahead and kick our heat. I've had my onions and shallots and garlic kind of cooking at about a 4 on the 10 of your stove. I'm going to go ahead and kick that up to about a 6, maybe a 7. And here we're going to want to cook that off. Now, normally if you were using flour, and you can definitely use flour, you're looking at maybe about 2 to 3 minutes. You want to smell it, almost smelling like a nutty smell. Cornstarch is going to cook through a little quicker and not leave that flour taste, and give you just the thickness that you're looking for. Now, next step, you have 3 options. 3. You can go with half and half, which is kind of the middle point, you know, and that's what most people do with their creamy spinach. Half and half will work. I get a little crazy with it. I like a thicker, richer cream spinach. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this around a little more. Just want to cook that cornstarch through. Let's cook it through. You could add a little salt and pepper here. Because I have the camera in my hand, I'll add it on the back end. But I would put a little salt and pepper in this. And you see those bubbles? That's what you'll see when the flour is done. Again, like 2-3 minutes on the flour. I'll have measurements in the recipe for you guys on the back end, but I'm going to go with a little bit of milk, a little bit of half and half, and a little bit of heavy whipping cream. That's where I like to get a little little rich and wild with it. Any of the 3 will work. You can go with straight whipping cream for a richer, thickness. And as you can see, you see what's happening there. It's thickening up. It's thickening up. So again, any of your choices. A little salt and pepper, and then we're going to go ahead and take our strained off spinach, pop that in there, and I'll be back in a second to show you guys what our next steps are going to be. Alright, so we're back here. We've got our cream spinach with the half and half, with the milk, with the heavy cream, salt, pepper, nutmeg inside this bad boy. This is totally optional. This is something I like to do though. I like to put some quartered cherry tomatoes inside of my cream spinach. It adds a little bit of zip, a little bit of acid, and I think it just makes for a good flavor. Optional, not necessary. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just incorporate those in. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and kind of stir that in and get that going. And you can see our cream is there, but it's not cheesy yet, ladies and gentlemen. It's not cheesy yet. And the way that we're going to get that cheesy is we are going to do 2 things. First, go ahead, we're going to put some mozzarella in that. We're going to incorporate that and fold that in. So you can just kind of flip that over, and if you got those astute ears, you should be able to hear my water boiling from my mac and cheese. And I'll show you how to assemble that in a couple of minutes. Only thing left to do is the stuffing and to take the bird out of the oven. Here is the other pièce de résistance cream cheese. I know you're probably saying, Jesus Christ, how is this healthy? Well, it's Thanksgiving. It's supposed to be healthy. So I'm gonna let you just let that cook down. What we're gonna do with that is once that's all kind of melted and incorporated, we're gonna pop that in the oven 15 minutes, maybe 300 degrees, and then once everything's said and done, we're gonna top it with a little parm, shredded parm, grated parm on top. I've got the sliced stuff, but I'll show you what the final product looks like once we're all set and done. So here's our bird, a little bit of crispy skin there. We're gonna go ahead and put our tent foil over this. And now we got this bad boy tented. We're gonna let that sit for about 15 minutes. Let it do its thing. Got our pasta boiling. We've got our mise en place in the pan for our stuffing. Go ahead and cook that down. Let that do its thing. Get your celery, your carrots, your onions cooking through. In a second, we're gonna add some ground sausage. Let that cook through, and then a cup of broth, and start that up, and I'll have our mac and cheese ready to go in a little bit, guys. We are back. Our pasta's been cooked, drained. Here, you're gonna go with a can of evaporated milk. I'm gonna go with 1. Look at that skill. One-handed. I'm gonna go with 2. We're gonna go ahead and incorporate that. What you wanna do is you wanna mix that up here. And inside of this, you're gonna mix up about 16 ounces of cheddar. I gotta keep some secret, so I'm not gonna let you guys see what kind of cheese I'm using here. But again, you know, boiled pasta, 2 eggs. You can go with an egg if you don't want it as rich. You're gonna put a stick of butter, again with the butter, and then you're gonna add your cheese, and you're just gonna cook that on low until everything kind of homogenizes. Here we've got our mise en place, which was cooked through. We've got some chicken broth on that. We're gonna heat up a little bit of ground sausage. We're gonna incorporate all of that, and then we're just gonna add our stuffing. Guys, I think that's gonna be pretty much everything, and I will show you that final shot in about 15 minutes. Alright guys, so that's been Thanksgiving. Khaleesi's got the camera now. She's off of work. Her day's over. We're going to go ahead and dig into this delicious meal. As you can see, wifey's going to go ahead and bring in that camera real quick. We've got our herb and butter roasted turkey with our roasted carrots. We got our mac and cheese. A little bit of spinach got in that, but that's alright. It's all going in the same place. We got our stuffing with sausage, and we've got our cream spinach. Guys, you know how this goes. Beast was here. He would do it with me. You see what's on our plate. We just want to know what's on your plate. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.